Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Rebecca Erbelding, a historian at the museum. Chances are you know the name Anne Frank. For millions of us, Anne's diary put a human face to the horrors of the Holocaust. Although she's perhaps the best known hidden child, there were tens of thousands of other children also living in the shadows during the Holocaust, and each of them had a unique story. It's against that backdrop that we meet our guest today. Not far from Anne's secret annex in Amsterdam, there was another child in hiding. Leo Ullman was a toddler when he went to live with a couple he had never met before. Leo, we are so grateful to get to share your story today, and it is very much a pleasure to have you as our guest. Please reply in the comments for Leo, and we will get to as many of the comments as we can. Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am doing fine, and thank you very much for having me.
No, thanks so much for being here. So, Leo, you were born in Amsterdam in the Netherlands in July 1939, just months before World War II began. Less than a year later, Germany invaded your country, and the Nazi campaign of terror in the Netherlands was increasingly brutal. Jews were prohibited from attending public school. They were prohibited from using public transportation. Many of them were beaten on the streets or targeted by police or by the Nazi occupiers. And as Leo turned 3 in 1942, the Nazis and their collaborators began rounding up Jewish people. Many were ultimately sent to concentration camps and killing centers. So, Leo, your parents are watching all of this. They're watching everything happening around them, and they're watching the threats and the attacks grow. And they realized that none of you were safe. And like the Frank family and many others, they made difficult preparations over many months for a life in hiding. How did your parents begin those preparations? How did they try to make the transition for you smooth, particularly since you were only 3 years old at the time?
I think it was a very, very difficult decision. My father had received a notice at a given moment that he should go to a work camp in Germany. It was the same notice that Margot Frank, Anne's sister, received at the same time. So my father went to the railroad station and saw that it was not just healthy people being sent to Germany to work, but rather people were being pushed into cattle cars and sealed, and they were invalids, they were babies. It didn't look right to my father. In the meantime, my mother's sister was picked up by the Nazis and first put in a jail, but then sent to concentration camp with her 3 children. Her husband had been active in the resistance, and she was picked up and sent ultimately to Auschwitz. The problem here was that at that moment, my parents had to make that decision, and it was a very difficult decision. And to make it possible to get me into hiding and to make that decision to have me go separately from them into hiding, that was so difficult, and they had to wean me away. And they did that over a period of time by sending me to my mother's sorority sisters and their families and spending time there with them so that they could wean me away without too much dislocation.
Yeah, so they were trying to work with and help you through any sort of separation anxiety, I think, so that when you were separated, it might be easier for you. Let's hear your parents describe how they approached this very difficult decision.
And I knew I couldn't take him because you cannot bring a boy of 1.5, 2 years with you in hiding. We knew that. So we had to try first to find him a spot. The woman with whom I have a picture here is my sorority sister. And she said, don't worry, give him to me. I'll try to save him. And she did. She took him to Dutch Reformed Church, where they had a combination of ministers who had around them some people who were taking care of children, only children. And she said, they will take care of your kid. And so this woman is my sorority sister, and she is the one who found us this in between. We gave him away without having any idea where he was. We were not supposed to know.
That was one of the conditions. They wouldn't know where we were, and we could never know where he was, because then there was no chance that we would betray him, even if he would be
She is the
tortured.
only one who knew.
That it seems impossible, I think, for most people today to contemplate separating from their young children, especially if you didn't know where they were. And even at the time, your parents' decision caused tension within your extended family. How did your grandparents react to the idea?
My father's parents were extremely upset, to the point where they wouldn't even talk to my parents anymore, even as they went off into hiding themselves. They felt that the family should stay together under any circumstance.
We are hearing a lot of reaction about how difficult it must have been for your parents to put you in hiding without them. Doris says that it was an expression of true love, putting the child's safety first, and for the entire family, it had to be a very difficult decision. Robbie adds that would have been excruciating. They loved him more than themselves. I totally agree with that. So Leo, as your parents explained in the video, for everyone's safety, they were not allowed to know who you were and where you were placed. You had a few temporary hiding places before you landed with an older couple. And can you tell us a little bit about the Schimmels?
Yes, I was placed initially with a young man named Anton Schimmel and his wife, but their marriage went awry, probably because of me, and I was given back to the resistance. And I then briefly spent time in a hiding place. Well, it wasn't a hiding place. It was a sort of orphanage north of Amsterdam. And the father of Anton Schimmel, and he and his wife liked me, and he got a permit to go through the lines at the station because he was a policeman, and with a bicycle, he came to get me at this sort of orphanage and brought me back to their apartment in Amsterdam. On the photo that's shown now, it's people that I called Oma and Opa Schimmel, meaning grandma and grandfather Schimmel. They looked very severe in that photo. They were actually wonderful people. And I called them my war parents. They, to me, were my war parents forever.
We would like to welcome viewers here from Tallahassee, Florida, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from Princeton, New Jersey, and Boston, Massachusetts, and our international viewers from Australia, Germany, Mexico, and Honduras. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. Leo, can you tell us a little bit more about your relationship with other people in the Schimmel family, particularly the Schimmel's daughter?
Their daughter, who was actually adopted by the Schimmels, she was in fact the daughter of Oma Schimmel's brother. Her name was Tilly. She was 13, 14 years older than I, and we shared a room at the Schimmel apartment. The Schimmels had great joy in telling the story later on in life that I once went to Oma and Opa Schimmel and I said, I hope that Tilly was dead, then we would have more food.
Well, and I think that speaks both to the teasing that quasi siblings can do to each other and the ways in which they can torture each other. And also, it must have been very tricky for her to have such a younger person in her room all of a sudden. But even in hiding, and even though the Schimmels were really trying to keep you safe, the outside world was not safe for you. And Opa Schimmel, I know, was a part owner of a bar. And can you tell us a little bit about how his connections to the bar helped them kind of monitor and keep you safer?
Opa Schimmel had a young woman friend who was in a bar that was frequented by German soldiers, German police. And through that connection, he came to know when there would be a raid, so-called razzia. And they arranged, when there would be a raid, to send me back to Anton Schimmel's house in the suburbs outside Amsterdam until the threat of razzias was over. During razzias, they would block off streets and go house to house looking for hidden Jews.
So it really was a family affair and almost a community affair to keep you safe from the trusted or with the trusted people in your life. And we know that the decision that your parents had made to go into hiding and to put you in hiding may have made all the difference in the family's survival. We know that roughly 75% of the Netherlands' small Jewish population was murdered during the Holocaust. Only about 5% of the roughly 100,000 Jews who were deported from the Netherlands, most of them to the Auschwitz-Birkenau and Sobibor killing centers, survived the war. So, Leo, a few years ago, you were able to return to your hiding place in Amsterdam. Let's watch a clip of you describing your experience.
In September of 2017, we went to visit some of the places that were meaningful in my early life. We went and visited my hiding place during the war, which was an apartment. I think that this may have been my room, and I shared a room with my war sister, Tilly. Tilly was 13 years older than I was. For the first few weeks, perhaps, they let me out. They dyed my hair blonde, and they let me play outside. But after a couple of weeks, they decided no longer to do that. So I basically stayed in the apartment for the entire war.
While you were being cared for by a family that clearly treated you with love, your parents had a much more complex relationship with their rescuers. Can you tell us a little bit about how they met the family that took them in and how that relationship deteriorated?
Well, my mother had been involved in social work while she was in her 1 year at the university. And there she met a family named Peister. Father Peister had a disability, and my mother brought them money and food stamps. Through that connection, my mother did arrange that they could have a rented attic in the building in which the Peisters lived. There was a shoe store at the bottom. At street level, the Peisters lived on the floor above that with their two daughters, who were teenagers. And then above the Peisters was a young couple who went to work every day. And above them was the attic where my parents were able to rent the space, which was a single room, a single window, no heat, no light, no electricity. And that was their hiding place to be.
it sounds quite traumatic for them. And I know that the Peisters also had 2 daughters, and that those daughters, were friendly with your parents, but also a little bit leading your parents potentially into danger. And I'm wondering if you can talk a bit about that.
Yes. My parents loved those 2 daughters and taught them various skills, language skills. But those daughters consorted with the Germans. They got candy from them, perhaps cigarettes. They were able to ride in vehicles with them. So it was very dangerous that inadvertently they would betray my parents. In the meantime, my parents were extorted by the parents of those 2 young girls. That was the Peisters. And at a given moment, the money ran out, and it became a very difficult relationship. And they demeaned my parents, and as I mentioned, they extorted them.
Yeah, it seems like everybody who was helping you were trying to ensure that you were never afraid. And your parents must have been constantly just in fear of being discovered or being turned in by the Peisters. And they were also afraid for you. And one of the most stunning things I learned from your parents' interview is that they made a pact not to talk about you while they were in hiding. Do you know why they did that?
I think the reason, very simply, was that they had to keep their sanity. They couldn't spend every day and night worrying about my survival or where I might be. They had to just try somehow to go on with their own lives. And they did that through various means. They read books, they acted out stories from books. They did anything and everything to keep them thinking about things other than the terrible situation they were in.
We want to especially send a warm welcome to the 5th grade class at Lake Loon Elementary School in Washington State, who is joining us here today. Both Renita and Henry have written in to ask whether you and your parents were reunited. And we know that you were separated from your parents for nearly 2.5 years. But in May 1945, right before the Germans surrendered, Amsterdam was liberated by the Canadian Army, which was part of the Allied occupying forces. One of the first things your parents did, of course, was try to find you. And they were able to track down your mother's sorority sister, who then led them to reunite with you. And you were then 5 years old. Leo, can you, well, I think first, actually, we're going to hear your parents describe what that day was like for them.
And we found Leo, and his mother was a very extremely nice woman. And she said, take him with you, but don't keep him too long, because that night was so, he didn't sleep much. So she said, take him and bring him back at 4, and then my husband will be home, the policeman.
But at night he said, now I want to go back to my real parents.
Yeah, I want to go back to my real...
He really had absolutely no idea who you were.
No.
And so we went back to the apartment of the war parents. And then there must have been, well, maybe 20 people sitting in the living room.
All the neighbors.
All the neighbors.
And
You
all
have
the
no
neighborhood
vague
knew
idea.
that Leo was a Jewish boy, and
All
nobody
of
betrayed
them
him.
came. And the minister was there, and another minister, and God knows who was there. But at any rate, they prayed a lot, and everyone was in tears, really. But we were not so much in tears because we were so overwhelmed with all this.
It's really such a beautiful and heartbreaking moment that they're describing. And as someone who works with Holocaust history a lot, it's especially striking because it shows a Jewish child being loved and protected in such a profound way. Your parents must have wanted nothing more than to spend every second with you, to drink you in after being separated for 2.5 years, but they brought you back to the Schimmels that evening. What do you remember about your reunion with them that day?
Well, it was very difficult because my war mother knew that this day would come, and at a given moment, doorbell rang, and these two emaciated people who might have weighed 70 pounds, and my father had huge feet that had swollen during the war because he didn't get out and walk. And these two gaunt, scarily ravaged people claimed that they were my parents. I didn't remember them. To me, the Schimmels had become my parents. And all of a sudden, we were confronted with people who claimed to be my real parents, and I thought the Schimmels were my real parents. That was a difficult time.
I remember you telling me the baked beans story, and I'm wondering if you can tell us the baked beans story.
Well, my parents, my real parents, took me back to their hiding place, which was nowhere near as comfortable as the apartment of the Schimmels. And my parents had stored under the floorboards of their hiding place a can of baked beans while they suffered abject starvation because they wanted to have something for their son Leo when he came back to them. And they opened that can of beans with great ceremony, and I told them, I hate baked beans. And so these poor people suffered through all sorts of hunger, especially during the hunger winter in 1944, and yet they saved that can of beans. Well, they ate it with great pleasure, licked every last drop, and then we did go back, as you mentioned, to the Schimmel apartment, and I thought I was going back to my real parents.
Yeah, I think there's an impression that these reunions are always wonderful and everything is great from then on, but they were often really emotionally fraught. There are traumatic stories about the experiences of children in hiding whose rescuers refused to give the children back to their biological parents. Others who were traumatized because their rescuers had wanted free labor and had abused children that they had agreed to protect during the war. But Leo, in your case, you had two sets of parents now who loved you very much. Can you talk about some of the ways that they worked together to kind of help you transition from your wartime parents to the care of your biological parents?
Well, it's very important, as you said, that they helped each other with this process. Perhaps most important in all of this was that they gave me their dog. And that was very, very meaningful. Also, they stayed in my life. Opa Schimmel took me to school almost every day when I went to a school right after I went with my real parents. I also had an eye operation shortly after the war. Opa Schimmel went to the hospital every day. So they very much stayed in my life immediately after the war until the day that we were no longer in Holland.
Yeah, I mean, it's really beautiful too. Two couples who are making a relationship between each other out of love for you. We have spent a lot of time looking at the experiences and talking about the experiences of you and your parents so far, but a number of members of your extended family also survived in hiding due to the efforts of a policeman from the Dutch town of Utrecht. Can you tell us a little bit about him and how he helped your extended family?
Well, the picture there is of Piet Hogeboom, who was a policeman in Utrecht, and he stayed on active duty during the entire war, while in fact he also at the same time was extremely active in the resistance. He was able to find hiding places, false IDs for my grandparents, my mother's mother and my father's two parents, and also for uncles and aunts. The relationship with Pete Hocheboom arose because a young woman in his factory, in my granduncle's factory, was friendly with Hocheboom, and he was thus a friend of my great uncle, and he arranged for all those others to survive.
Yeah, I think it's hard to overstate how important this network of people were who provided hiding places that saved lives during the Holocaust. In the Netherlands, we know that among the Jews who went into hiding, about 2/3 of them survived. And your parents found a very special way to honor your war parents. In 1946, your brother Henk was born, and his full name is Hendrik Jan, in honor of your wartime parents. Leo, we've only had a very small chance to touch on the very early years of your life. So as we wrap up today, I will let viewers know that in 1947, your family immigrated to the United States. And here you have personified the American dream. You graduated from Harvard University and Columbia Law and Business Schools. You served in the U.S. Marine Corps and have built a successful career in business and a loving family. And I learned that very recently you threw out the first pitch for your beloved Mets. And I'm glad that we have that photo there. A viewer named Xenia says, "What a story. It's sad, but also happy because Leo and his parents survived the war." And she wants to know whether you were affected by being separated. Jane also wants to know whether you ever suffered any feelings of abandonment from your biological parents.
I don't think so. It sounds very strange, and everyone seems to believe that I should have been affected. I didn't knowingly suffer during the period that I was with the Schimmels. I didn't know that a severe war was going on. So it didn't affect me to the extent that it might have. And as you mentioned earlier, others were abused. The Schimmels always treated me as a temporary holding situation, and they never moved to adopt me or make me adopt their religion. So it is not an experience that I feel defined my life. And the Schimmels were just wonderful people who took the ultimate risk. And for me, that's the most important thing. I didn't knowingly suffer. And I don't think my parents were severely adversely affected once we were all together again.
You've talked really beautifully about the Schimmels and about Pete Hocheboom and about these people who protected your family, who I think in any other circumstance we might describe as ordinary people. What do you think we can learn from them?
I feel the word ordinary is so difficult to describe these people. They were people with modest means. They weren't exceptional in any respect. They were just good people. Religious, certainly, for Oma Schimmel. And they always felt that this was the right thing to do. And that's the most important thing to learn here. They took the ultimate risk because they felt it was the right thing to do.
A viewer named Tammy has added, "I've heard many stories of children being taken back by their parents who are now strangers and ripped away from the people whom they thought were their parents. God bless that all of your parents took your acceptance and understanding into consideration." And I think that it is partly why you are the man you are now, that so many people loved you so much when you were young and really took care to make sure that this would be as easy an experience as possible for you. Leo, it was such a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much for allowing me to do so. I enjoyed it very much.
As Leo expressed, his experience illustrates that survival during the Holocaust depended on timing, on luck, and most of all, on the choices of so-called ordinary people who showed themselves to actually be quite extraordinary. Leo's rescuers refused to close their eyes to the madness unfolding around them, and they put themselves in danger to save Leo and his family because, as he says, they felt it was the right thing to do. Thank you all so much for joining us today.